you try to just do little things that help people. So, we're just trying to spread the word basically that, you need to know about what your cholesterol levels are. If it's over 200, talk to your doctor and see what the appropriate action may be.
Well, of all the strikeouts you pitched, if high cholesterol can be struck out, that might be the best one of all.
Well, it's not simple. And again, the numbers, anytime you have 105 million Americans that have high cholesterol, I think we have a serious problem, which is 50% of our adult population. There's a great website called www.sourcesofcholesterol.com. You can get on that website, and it kind of tells you, about what goes on with your heart. And the thing about heart disease is it doesn't knock on the door, it doesn't ring the doorbell. It's a silent killer.
And you got into Major League Baseball, and in 1966, you were actually the youngest pitcher ever to throw a shutout in the World Series, and you did it against a guy named Koufax that was pretty well universally considered the greatest pitcher in the game at that time. That must be a great memory.
Yeah, it's amazing what fear will do, isn't it? It's a great motivator. I'd had a little bit of arm problems at the end. I was expecting, along with my wife, my first daughter, Jamie, and she's going to be born in November, and I would go home and paint the. You're making $7,500 a year. Couldn't afford a painter, so I'd go home and paint the rooms. And I just got bicipital tendonitis, and I got a chance to rest. We won by about 8 or 9 games that year, and I pitched the clincher in Kansas City, and I had a chance to rest my shoulder. And I don't know if I ever could have pitched another game, but it was in Dodger Stadium. I had gone there when I was a kid to see the Dodgers play. Again, they wanted me to go to SC and sign a year later, so I could have really been a Dodger. But as it turned out, in the first game of the World Series, Dave Gnally started, had some problems. Mo Dravowski came in, struck out 11 Dodgers in 6 2/3 innings. Brooks and Frank Robinson hit home runs in the first inning, and I'm sitting on the bench, and I said, you know what, we might be able to win. Because, they did have Drysdale and they did have Koufax, but their offense was pretty much Maury Wills. Tommy Davis had broken his ankle, one of the great hitters, in the National League, but he wasn't the same player. They had Willie Davis, John Roseborough, people like that, Wes Parker, but they weren't a great offensive team. They usually beat you 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, scores like that. And Mo came in and struck out the Dodgers. I mean, he had a great breaking ball and high fastball. And I sat there and I said, looks like they have problems with the high fastball. So, the next day at age 20, I was going to turn 21 in about a week. I went out there and Koufax pitched great. I mean, Sandy was the best pitcher of that decade. In 6 years, he put up Hall of Fame numbers. Willie Davis dropped a couple of fly balls, picked up the second one, he did in the stands, and we got 4 unearned runs, and I was able to win 6-0. Wally Bunker won Game 3 back in Baltimore, 1-0, and McNally came back and beat Drysdale 1-0 in the finals, and we were world champs.
3 straight years Baltimore got in the World Series. The Mets seem to have something supernatural going. In '69, you beat Cincinnati, and a Pittsburgh ball club beat you in 7 games, but certainly you could have won all 3 of those World Series.
Well, I think that would have been probably the earmark to being recognized as one of the better clubs. I mean, anytime you win 109, 108, and 101 games, you have a pretty good team. But a lot of times you're judged by how you play in the postseason.
What about baseball today as we speak? Hank Aaron's home run record is about to fall. There's obviously been a lot of talk about performance enhancers and cork bats and small ballparks and whatever. How do you view some of the things that have been going on as far as making headlines in baseball today?
Well, there's a lot of validity to all of those. I think we all recognize that something went on with Barry. I mean, if you're not, you're just, you're putting the blinders on. And the home run from probably 1989 or maybe 1988 to 2003 was devalued. Anybody that watched the game knew something was going on, and I certainly understand the reasoning. Powerful union, baseball strike in '94. Season started late in '95, so Cal Ripken, of course, breaks Lou Gehrig's record in consecutive games in '95 and kind of rescues the game, and then you have the great home run chase in '98. But people knew that Sammy Sosa was a lot bigger than he used to be, and so was Mark McGwire, and the game has evolved. I know the commissioner, and I talked to Bud Selig many times about when are you going to try to get a handle on this, and he said my hands are pretty much tied, and they probably were. Again, strong union and owners that wanted more people to come out. Baseball is not a perfect world, and I don't know many sports that are, but with steroid testing and amphetamine testing, they've leveled the playing field a little bit. And, for years they tested in the minor leagues and they never tested the major league level, which seemed to me was a little bit unfair. I think in a perfect world we'd have a blood test for growth hormones, and guys would be, the numbers they put up would be legitimate numbers. And I read a comment by George Mitchell the other day where he said that the victims of the whole steroid era and all that are the guys that didn't do them. And the irony to me is that how Donald Fear and his baseball union could protect the 10 or 12% or 15% or whatever. I don't know if we'll ever know the hard numbers of the guys that actually did transgress the rules and didn't maintain the integrity of the game, and protect those guys over the guys that did. But it happened. I think you need to move on, and I think that the health of the game is very good. I think we've had 7 different World Series champions the last 7 years. We don't have the Yankees dominating baseball. They usually win their division, but this year it looks like the Red Sox might do it. I think baseball's all right. It could be better probably, but it's taken some steps towards being better, and I think to me that's a positive sign.